What if everything you thought you knew about satisfying a woman was completely, embarrassingly, devastatingly wrong? What if the reason she seems distant, disconnected, or simply going through the motions has nothing to do with attraction, and everything to do with one simple thing you have never been taught? What if I told you that right now, urologists, the actual medical experts who study the human body at its deepest biological level, have identified 5 specific techniques that women not only want, not only appreciate, but literally beg for? And most men will go their entire lives never knowing a single one of them. What if the gap between a good relationship and an extraordinary one is not about looks, not about age, not about experience, but about 5 precise, learnable, repeatable skills that any man can master starting today? Stay right here. Do not touch that screen. Do not scroll away. Because what you are about to hear in the next few minutes could permanently change the quality of your relationship, your confidence, and your connection with the woman in your life. This is not a theory. This is not opinion. This is medicine. This is science. This is what she actually wants. And today, you are finally going to understand it. Presented in Health vs. Now style. What if the most powerful, intimate technique in the world had nothing to do with physical strength, nothing to do with size, nothing to do with duration, and everything to do with understanding the extraordinary, complex, breathtakingly beautiful science of the female body? What if right now, sitting wherever you are, watching this video, you are just 5 tips away from becoming the partner she has always dreamed of? The one she talks about, the one she cannot stop thinking about, the one she chooses every single time? Welcome. You are watching Health vs. Now. And today, we are not holding anything back. We are diving deep into one of the most requested, most misunderstood, most medically significant topics in modern intimate health. We are talking about what urologists, board-certified, peer-reviewed, medically trained specialists who spend their entire careers studying the human reproductive and urinary system have identified as the #1 sexual technique women genuinely, desperately, deeply beg for. 5 tips. Done right. Starting today. Let us begin with something that will completely shatter your assumptions. Health vs. Now explanation. Point 1. The psychology comes before the physiology. What if the most shocking medical truth about female pleasure is that it begins entirely in the brain, not in the body? Here at Health vs. Now, we do not just report surface information. We go inside the science, we dissect the research, and we present it to you in a way that is honest, clear, medically accurate, and genuinely life-changing. And this first point is something that will hit you like a cold wave of realization. Urologists and sexual health physicians consistently report that the vast majority of men approach intimacy backwards. They focus on the body first. They go physical immediately. They skip the most critical step, which is activating the female brain. Here is the stunning medical reality. The female brain, when experiencing stress, anxiety, distraction, or emotional disconnection, literally suppresses arousal signals. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, remains active during emotional discomfort, and when it is active, pleasure signals are neurologically blocked. She physically cannot experience full arousal when she does not feel emotionally safe. The #1 technique that women beg for, the one that urologists place above every physical method, is intentional, deliberate, unhurried emotional presence. It means making her feel seen before she is touched. It means conversation, warmth, genuine attention, the kind of presence that communicates without words. I am completely here. I see you. You matter to me more than my own impatience. This is not romance advice. This is neuroscience. The parasympathetic nervous system, the part of the nervous system responsible for relaxation, openness, and physical arousal, activates powerfully when emotional safety is established. When you create that safety, her body responds in ways that no physical technique alone can produce. Most men reading this right now have never been told this. Most men were never taught that intimacy is a psychological event that expresses itself physically, not the other way around. And that single misunderstanding has cost countless relationships, their fire, their depth, and their connection. Health vs. Now exists because this information should not be a secret. It should not be buried in medical journals that only specialists read. It should be here, accessible, honest, and delivered with the respect that you and your partner deserve. Health vs. Now explanation. Point 2. The anatomy she hopes you understand. What if she has been waiting, patiently, quietly, sometimes frustratedly, for you to understand one specific part of her anatomy that changes the entire experience for her? At Health First Now, we believe that ignorance in intimate health is not a character flaw. It is a gap in education. And we are here to close that gap permanently with medical accuracy and zero judgment. The clitoris. Let us talk about it with the medical seriousness it deserves. The clitoris contains more than 8,000 nerve endings, twice the number found in the male equivalent. And here is the shocking part. The visible external portion of the clitoris is only a small fraction of its actual size. The full clitoral structure extends internally, forming a wishbone shape that surrounds the vaginal canal. This means that the internal sensations many women experience during intimacy are, in significant part, actually clitoral stimulation reaching them from the inside. Urologists emphasize that the #1 physical technique women respond to most powerfully involves focused, consistent, patient attention to this structure, specifically the external portion, with light, rhythmic, varied pressure and motion adjusted in real time based on her response. Here is what makes this shocking for most men. The technique is not aggressive. It is not rushed. It is not about intensity in the way most men assume intensity means. The nerve endings in this region are extraordinarily sensitive, so sensitive that too much direct pressure too quickly actually causes discomfort, not pleasure. The technique that women beg for is a gentle, attentive, responsive approach that escalates only when her body signals readiness. The key medical principle here is biofeedback responsiveness. You are not performing a fixed routine. You are having a biological conversation with her body. You listen with your hands. You adjust with every breath she takes, every movement she makes, every sound she produces. You treat her responses as instructions, because medically speaking, they are. Health First Now brings you this information because your partner's pleasure is not a mystery to be guessed at. It is a science to be understood, a communication to be learned, and a gift to be given with intention. Health First Now explanation. Point 3. The pace that changes everything. What if the single biggest mistake men make in intimate relationships, the one that consistently leaves women unsatisfied, is simply going too fast? Health First Now is committed to giving you the kind of medical truth that most platforms are too cautious to deliver clearly. And this truth is one of the most consistent findings across urology, sexual health research, and relationship medicine worldwide. Speed is the enemy of female satisfaction. Here is the biological reason. Female arousal, full, deep, meaningful arousal, requires what researchers call the engorgement process. The tissues of the female genitalia must fill with blood, swell, and become sensitized before stimulation reaches its potential effectiveness. This process takes significantly longer in women than in men, often requiring 10 to 20 minutes of consistent, attentive engagement before peak readiness is achieved. When men rush past this stage, when impatience overrides education, what happens is medically predictable. Stimulation is applied to tissues that are not yet fully engorged and sensitized. The experience becomes flat, sometimes uncomfortable, and frequently unsatisfying. She endures rather than enjoys. She disconnects rather than deepens. The technique that urologists and sexual health specialists recommend, the one women describe as what they beg for, is what medical literature calls graduated arousal sequencing. It means beginning slowly, almost imperceptibly slowly, building in small increments, and maintaining consistency long enough for her body to reach its full biological potential. The shocking statistic that Health First Now wants you to understand is this. Research indicates that the average male reaches full physical arousal in under 2 minutes. The average female requires between 10 and 20 minutes. That gap, that 8 to 18-minute difference, is where most intimate relationships fail. Not because of incompatibility, not because of lack of attraction, simply because of uneducated pace. When you close that gap, when you patiently, lovingly, deliberately take the time her biology requires, the experience transforms entirely for both of you. Health First Now explanation. Point 4. Verbal communication during intimacy. What if the most electrifying thing you could do during intimacy had nothing to do with touch at all, and everything to do with your voice? This is where Health First Now goes somewhere most health platforms avoid. We discuss communication during intimacy, not just before it, not just after it, but in the middle of it, in real time, with medical understanding of why it works so powerfully. Urologists and sexual psychologists both confirm that verbal engagement during intimate activity activates unique neurological responses in women that physical touch alone cannot produce. When you speak during intimacy, when you ask her what feels good, when you confirm what you are noticing, when you express your genuine response to her, you engage the prefrontal cortex, the brain region associated with trust, validation, and deep psychological connection. Here is what makes this technique so shockingly effective. When a woman hears your voice during intimacy, calm, confident, caring, genuinely engaged, her brain interprets this as a confirmation of safety and connection. This confirmation suppresses the amygdala's threat response and allows the arousal pathway to open more fully than it could under silence alone. The specific technique that women consistently describe as what they want is not performance. It is genuine, simple, honest verbal presence. Asking questions like, "Does this feel good?" or "Tell me what you want," communicates two powerful things simultaneously: that you are paying attention and that her pleasure genuinely matters to you. Both of these communicate deep respect. And deep respect, medically speaking, deepens physical response. Additionally, many women report that hearing their partner express genuine appreciation and desire verbally during intimacy is among the most powerful arousal factors they experience. This is not flattery for its own sake. This is the neurological effect of feeling genuinely wanted, which activates oxytocin and dopamine release simultaneously, creating a biochemical state of pleasure that intensifies everything physical happening at the same time. HealthVerse Now tells you this because intimacy is a conversation, and the partners who understand that have relationships that most people only dream of. HealthVerse Now explanation. Point 5. Consistency and the aftercare science. What if the technique that most powerfully determines whether she wants to repeat this experience, the technique that makes her choose you again and again, happens after the physical intimacy is already complete? At Health First Now, we cover what others skip. And what most intimate health content completely skips is the medical science of aftercare, what happens in the minutes and hours after intimacy, and why it may be the single most important factor in long-term sexual satisfaction for women. Here is the shocking neurological truth. During and immediately after intimacy, the female brain experiences a dramatic surge of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, that is significantly larger in magnitude than the surge experienced by men in the same context. This means that immediately after intimacy, women are neurologically primed for connection, validation, and emotional closeness in a way that is biologically more intense than what men experience at the same moment. When that need goes unmet, when a partner rolls over, reaches for their phone, or disengages immediately, the oxytocin surge has nowhere to go. The brain registers this as emotional abandonment. And emotional abandonment in the wake of physical vulnerability creates what researchers call post-intimacy emotional injury, a subtle but deeply felt sense of being used rather than cherished. Over time, this repeated experience suppresses a woman's willingness to engage fully in intimacy. She begins to protect herself emotionally during the experience itself, holding back, staying partially disconnected, because her nervous system has learned that vulnerability will not be honored afterward. The technique that urologists and relationship health specialists unanimously recommend, the one that women describe as transformative, is intentional, warm, physically present aftercare, remaining close, speaking kindly, expressing appreciation, asking how she feels, maintaining physical contact, allowing the oxytocin cycle to complete naturally in an environment of safety and warmth. This is not complicated, but it is extraordinarily powerful. And Health First Now is here to tell you that the partners who practice this, the ones who stay present after intimacy with the same care they brought during it, are the ones whose partners feel genuinely, completely, lastingly satisfied. What if everything you just heard was the beginning of the most significant shift in your intimate relationship you have ever experienced? Because here is the truth. The beautiful, medically grounded, human truth that Health First Now has built its entire mission on delivering to you. Satisfaction in intimacy is not reserved for the naturally gifted. It is not determined by genetics. It is not fixed by circumstance. It is a skill. It is an education. It is a practice, learned, refined, and deepened over time by people who care enough to seek the knowledge. 5 tips. Psychological presence before physical touch. anatomical understanding with patience and attention. Graduated pacing that respects her biology. Verbal communication that makes her feel seen and wanted in real time. And aftercare that honors the vulnerability she offered you. These are not tricks. These are not manipulations. These are medically grounded, relationship-honoring, human dignity-respecting approaches to one of the most important aspects of human connection. When you apply them, when you truly internalize them and bring them into your relationship with genuine intention, the woman in your life will not just be satisfied. She will feel understood. She will feel chosen. She will feel loved in a way that reaches deeper than words. And that, not any single physical technique, not any product, not any shortcut, is what she is truly begging for. Health First, now thanks you for trusting us with this conversation. This is the kind of content we are here to create. Honest, medical, respectful, and genuinely life-changing. Share this with someone who needs it, because this information deserves to reach every relationship that could be transformed by it.